Today we talk dragons, have a reading from The Boy Who Grew Dragons, and make our very own mini Chinese dragon puppets. Today's video is all about dragons, but what is a dragon? They're not real, so let's hear the definition. A dragon is a mythical monster-like giant reptile. In European tradition, the dragon is typically fire-breathing and tends to symbolise chaos or evil, whereas in East Asia, it's usually a beneficial symbol of fertility associated with water and the heavens. Dragons typically have crested heads and enormous claws, and they resemble a huge serpent or reptile-like creature. The word draconic means severe or harsh, and it also means dragon-like, although the East Asian or Chinese dragon is not seen in this evil light. In East Asian tradition, the dragon is something to be revered and isn't evil. Dragons in Western culture have often been depicted as winged, horned and four-legged, often capable of breathing fire, whereas dragons in Eastern cultures are usually depicted as wingless, four-legged and snake-like creatures with above-average intelligence. So when did dragons first come about? We know we have them in the East and the West, but where did they start? Well, believe it or not, there are references to dragons that date back as far as hundreds of years BC. There have been dragons found in Mesopotamian art and also literature. Ancient Mesopotamia is where we have the Middle East today, and it fell in 539 BC, so it's safe to say that dragons are pretty old. Chinese dragons, meanwhile, date back even further than our Mesopotamian friends. There's dragons in Chinese imagery symbolising imperial rule and good fortune that date back more than 5,000 years. Dragons have also appeared in Egyptian mythology, the Hebrew Bible, Greek mythology, and Norse mythology, including in the Anglo-Saxon poem Beowulf. St. George from the legend obviously slayed the dragon. The earliest record of St. George slaying the dragon is found in a Georgian text of the 11th century. Meanwhile, the oldest recorded use of the dragon to symbolise Wales was from around AD 829. This dragon, which can be found on the flag of Wales, was popularly supposed to have been the battle standard of King Arthur and other ancient Celtic leaders. Dragons are often seen as symbolising all things Welsh, including many public and private institutions and even the Welsh government, and Visit Wales. The word dragon entered the English language as early as the 13th century, and it came from the Old French word dragon, which came from the Latin draconum, meaning huge serpent. It also has roots in ancient Greek, drakon, meaning serpent or giant sea fish. The Chinese dragon is a symbol of power, strength and good luck for people who are worthy of it in East Asian culture. The dragons of Chinese legend lived in distant waters, and although they were wingless, they could fly. There is one existing dragon in real life, though, the Komodo dragon. The Komodo dragon is the largest living lizard in the world, and they typically weigh about 70 kilograms. The largest ever reached a length of over 3 meters and weighed 166 kilograms. Komodo dragons can be found only in Indonesia. They're thought to be the last surviving relatives of giant lizards that used to roam through Australia millions of years ago. So why are dragons so popular? Well, scholars believe that dragons actually came about independently in Western and Eastern culture, and also in the Americas and Australasia. And that could be because going back years and years ago, there actually were giant reptilian creatures that roamed the earth. Although they died out many, many years ago, some of the best stories and tales have their roots in reality. So dragons are here to stay, and they continue to be massive in popular culture today. You can see them in books, film, television, clothing logos, tattoos, and some of the greatest fantasy literature incorporates dragons, including the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling, the How to Train Your Dragon series by Cressida Cowell, and today's book, which is The Boy Who Grew Dragons by Andy Shepherd. People ask me what we grow in Grandad's garden. I think they expect the answer to be cucumbers, tomatoes, or runner beans. I don't think they expect the answer to be dragons. But there it is. We grow dragons. And I can tell you this, they're a lot more trouble than cucumbers. Things cucumbers do not do. Poo in your dad's porridge. Singe your eyebrows. Make a really cosy nest by shredding all your mum's alphabetically ordered recipes. Leave your pants, the embarrassing ones, covered in diggers, hanging from the TV aerial. Chase your cat. Drop cabbages on your cat. Ride your cat like a rodeo bull. Wake you up at 4 a.m. every morning by digging razor-sharp claws into your forehead. Set light to your toothbrush while it's still in your mouth. Of course, they also don't have scales that ripple and shimmer like sunlight on the sea. Or have glittering eyes that can see right into the heart of you. Or settle on your neck with their tail curled round, warming your neck, and their hot breath tickling your ear. Nope, none of these are things you can expect from a cucumber. Well, not any cucumbers I've ever come across. Maybe a mutant radioactive space cucumber, but not your average garden variety. But dragons, well, they're a whole other story. So who wants to grow dragons? Daft question, yeah? I mean, seriously, who in their right mind would say no? Not me, that's for sure, and not you by the looks of it. But if you want to grow dragons, you need to know what you're getting into. Sure, they're fiery, fantastical and dazzling, but dragons are not all fun and games, not by a long shot. And it's not just the fire and the flammable poo I'm talking about. Oh no, which is why my dragon-seeking desperados, I'm writing all this down. So at least you can go into it with your eyes open, because believe me, you'll need them to stay wide, wide open. Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Battle of the Bongle. It all started about a year ago, and it was all Grandad's fault. Well, his and the jam tarts. I was just licking the last of it off my fingers when he said, "We should grow our own chipstick." "Jam tarts?" I asked. "Raspberries," he grinned. "Then we could make our own jam for Nana's tarts. We could mix them up too. Strawberry and blackberry, gooseberry and raspberry. Just think of the possibilities. Delicious." It did make a pretty good picture in my head. A vast plate-sized jam tart with different coloured sections like a multi-topping pizza. And more too, Grandad went on, before I could dive further into the jammy dream. Radishes, beans, onions, cauliflowers, you name it, we could grow it. Suddenly I wasn't so sure it was a great idea. Strawberry and cauliflower jam? Ew. Anyway, I had enough fruit and vegetables to deal with. What with Mum shoveling in my 5 a day. I mean, she even sneaked dried fruit into perfectly good flapjacks, as if I wouldn't notice. But Grandad wasn't one to let go of an idea once it had fluttered down and settled. So on Saturday morning, there we were at the end of his garden, up to our ears in mud, digging away at what looked to me like a monster jungle. In fact, I was beginning to realise why Mum had offered me provisions for my trip to the Amazon. Without the nettles and brambles, my grandparents' garden was probably half as big again and ran all the way down to the fields beyond. "I've been wanting to get stuck into this since we moved in," Grandad told me, pausing to catch his breath. "But what with one thing and another, I just don't seem to have found the time." I stopped digging and scraped my spade across a clod of mud. I know you have no idea what he was talking about, but I did. I knew exactly what he meant by one thing and another. "Sorry," I muttered, because I really was. He rested his arms on his spade and leaned towards me. "Now there's something you should know about my Grandad. He twinkles. That might sound weird, but he does. There's a phrase, to have a twinkle in your eye, which means to be bright or sparkling with delight. Well, my granddad has the biggest twinkle of anyone I've ever known. And right then, he was shining that twinkle down on me till I felt its warmth flooding every bit of my body. It was like I'd sat down in front of the toastiest marshmallow toasting fire. Now then, Chipstick, how many times have I told you? What's the deal with families? I smiled. They stick together. Exactly, he grinned. Not unlike jam tarts. Now get digging. So I did. The worst thing to dig up was this stuff Grandad called bongleweed. It wound itself round everything, clinging to roots, shoots and shrubs for dear life. Soon enough, I was in an almighty tug of war, boy against plant, and for a moment there, it really looked as if the evil bongle plant overlord might win. But I dug and scraped and pulled and heaved until all that was left was a patch of earth, and the strangest looking plant I'd ever seen. It was taller than me, and my blistered hands would have only made it halfway round the trunk, except it was hard to see the trunk because of all these long green cactus arms that draped down. It looks like a giant upturned mop head, declared Grandad, but you know, green and spiky and knobbly too. Bizarrely, he wasn't far wrong. Sprouting from some of the cactus arms were vivid yellow and orange tendrils, like bursts of flames, and on each one of those nestled a fruit. Some were large and red and looked fit to burst, others were small and green and looked new, but all of them had weird spiky pineapple-like leaves. They were so unlike anything I'd ever seen in our fruit bowl at home, I found myself reaching up to touch them. I noticed one of the smaller fruits had already turned red, but the tendril it was attached to was being pushed down by the weight of a few larger fruits hanging above. I gently lifted it and moved it to one side. To give it some space. And as I did, I saw something even weirder. Hey, Grandad, I called. It's glowing like those fireflies. Do you remember? Dad said it was bioluminescence nonsense or something. He said some jellyfish do it too. Bioluminescence, Grandad corrected. He peered at the red fruit and rubbed a finger across it. Reckon it's just mould, he said. Come on, Chipstick, I'm famished. But what is it? I asked. Grandad wrinkled his nose. No idea, but we can pull it out tomorrow. I looked at the red spiky fruit that was glowing in my hands, and whether I pulled it a little too hard or it just chose that moment to fully ripen, one way or another the fruit dropped from the vivid tendril. Looking at it in my palm, somehow I didn't feel like throwing it into the bonfire pile, so I tucked it under my arm before following Grandad inside. Later, when I got home, I put this pineapple-y, sprouty fruit on my desk and typed strange spiky fruit into the search box on my computer. Pictures popped up, and there it was, right next to durian, which smelled like poo, apparently. So it was dead lucky we didn't find those. No, here it was, size of a mango, red, spiky, pineapple-like leaves, definitely what I had sitting in front of me. I clicked on the picture and read the caption. Pitaya, dragon fruit. Yup. Now that's easy for you because you know there's about to be a dragon. But I was clueless back then. I mean, if someone gives you a fairy cake, you don't expect Tinkerbell to pop out, do you? Imagine that, growing dragons in your garden, way more fun than your usual marrows and carrots. That was the boy that grew dragons. Now, staying on the theme of dragons, as I said before, in Japanese and Chinese culture, dragons are regarded as amazing forces of nature, and they have a lot to do with both water and air. So the Chinese have dragon boat racing, and often you might see dragons in processions being beautifully handled by their puppeteers, moving around in the air. I thought it might be fun to make a Chinese dragon like that today, a little mini version. So what you need to do that is get your hands on some paper. Now it can just be ordinary paper, like an A4 sheet of paper. Coloured paper is great, so if you can use different colours of paper, that's really good. If you're using A4 paper, you might want to get about 3 or 4 sheets and cut them into strips, long, thin strips. I've got my hands on some crepe paper here, and it's good to choose colours. This is just old crepe paper that I'm reusing. It's good to use colours that are sort of bright and could be fiery and dragon-like. I really wanted to get my hands on some yellow, or gold or red. And so yellow and red and gold are really sort of Chinese dragony colours, orange as well. And then you need to get cutting strips that are the width of the dragon that you're going to be making. The longer the better, but it doesn't matter because you can stick strips onto each other to get the length up a bit. So I have a red strip and a purple strip here, and then you need to get them at right angles to each other like that, and then stick them together. So just put a blob of glue on, and then this is the clever bit, we're going to fold them so they kind of make a sort of almost concertina effect. So you've got your strips stuck, then fold one over the top to that side, then fold the next one over, and then keep going folding so they're sort of crisscrossing back and forth over each other, and do that for the whole length of your strip. So once you've finished your folding, you'll find that when you open out your dragon's body, it will look like that. And you can keep doing a few and then stick them end to end, so you've got a lovely multicoloured dragon. Just to show you, gold and red look really very, very Chinese dragony. Now for a really long dragon, you can stick your little concertinas end to end just by gluing them together, but I'm going to make two smaller dragons, I think, today. And so next, what we need to do is make our dragon's head. So to make the face, what you need to do is cut out two little bits of paper or cardboard and fold the top section up like that. That's where our eyes are going to go. And then make two little folds so that the mouth is tapered, and then do the same thing on a second piece of cardboard like that. And then we're going to stick that on to the face of our dragon. So you're going to stick two eyes there. You can put other little features as well. I've got two little eyes that I've drawn. You can add ears, and you can add little dragon horns, and also I've made tiny teeth that I'm gonna stick on that bends down like that. So I will finish sticking the pieces, so that's the top and bottom section of my dragon's head, and then we'll stick it on to the dragon's face like that. Okay, so I'll do all that to show you. So as you can see, I've stuck on the horns and the ears, the eyes, I've drawn some nostrils, the teeth are there, and now I'm ready to stick my face on to my dragon's body. And also I'm going to stick a tail at the back of my dragon's body. You could put arms and all sorts as well. I'm also going to add some fire coming out of the mouth that I've made out of yellow tin foil. Gold tin foil rather. So as you can see, the dragon has its tail and its head, and it can concertina small and big. And now you just need to add two sticks which you can stick on with sticky tape, one at the front and one at the back, so you can be a dragon puppeteer. And you can make these dragons really, really long by sticking together loads of concertinas. So I'm just going to tape these sticks on and then go and do a dragon puppet show. That's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please subscribe and spread the word.
Hey, happy dragon making. Catch you next time. Till then, bye. Later.